Hi guys, John with you, back again, and we're going to continue on with the weathering of this ITALERI elephant. Okay, so we'll have a quick look at what we got done yesterday, because it's all nicely dried in now, so we can get a look at the effects and how that's all working out for us. Okay, so we've got our wheels and that now, which I didn't do yesterday. But, which I didn't do on camera yesterday, but I did say after I'd finished. Reason is because I wanted to do them like that. Okay, have it upright. Then put it all on, leave it dry in a bit, so I'm not ended up with kind of streak marks on the wheels. And then just turned it over and did the other side. But I'm happy now with how that turned out. I don't want to go cleaning them off anymore because believe it or not, I'm happy with that. That's kind of just natural grimy dirt, which is what I'm going for. Okay, natural grimy dirt. Okay, and as we can see here then from the rest of the vehicle, right, we've got nice bright, there we get some nice light on that, right, still a bit shiny because that's because it's still got its gloss coat. Okay, but our griminess and our dirtiness and all that kind of effect, which is what we're going for, it's all still there. Okay, and I'm happy with all of that, right? So now we want to do a bit of blending, a little bit more colour work. Okay, so what we need now is we don't go for a dot filtering. What dot filtering is basically, I'll sort of explain as I go. I didn't know too much about it myself until quite recently, although I have watched videos of it in the past. Had tried it a couple of times, didn't really work out for me, and then I realised I was doing it all wrong, quite simply, because it wasn't really explained in layman's terms to me, the couple of videos that I was watching. So once I kind of figured it out what they were actually on about, and the blending, and the most important part of it all is keeping the brush clean. Once I did it all kind of, once I basically, once I had it copped, it was easy enough. And you end up with quite a nice effect from it. Okay, so I'm only going to do one side today. We'll turn it around this way so it's easier. There we go. We'll do this side. I'm only going to do this square panel here. I know it's not square, so don't give out to me. We're only going to do this panel here. Reason is it's just the easiest to do just one little bit, and it's the same thing carried on all over the thing. Unlike the main wash which we put on earlier in the last video, where it all went on over in one go and we could clean it off afterwards. This is a little bit more refined. You could have to do it bit by bit, small sections at a time, and this panel is just perfect now for showing you that. Okay, so what we're going to use for this one is we're going to use a couple of different colours of oil colour, oil paints again. So I'm going to use some yellow ochre, some burnt umber, a little bit of burnt sienna, and some flat white, titanium white, but it's flat white basically. Okay, so what we do, you will also need something to apply it with, and absolutely perfect for that is a toothpick or cocktail stick, whatever you want to call it. This is what you'd use. Okay, so just dip it into it like that. Don't need to dispense the paint onto anything. You're only wasting it when you dispense it onto something. Right. And put a couple of dots. Hence the name dot filtering. Okay. Put a couple of dots around it. Like that. Right. Close up our paint. You will also need some tissue. Okay. I suggest when you start doing the weathering stage of your vehicle, buy yourself a couple of rolls of kitchen roll. Much better than using toilet paper. Toilet paper tends to be just a little bit too soft for it. So that kitchen roll is a bit more hard wearing. Okay. I don't recommend any specific brand of it. That's your own choice. Whatever the wife uses, you just go rub yourself a roll or two and use it. There we go. So now we're using the yellow ochre. Okay, same idea, a couple of little dots here and there. Okay. Again, clean off I was going to say clean off the brush, clean off your stick. Okay, now there's the two colours on, you can see them. Right, we're now going for another dark colour. We're going for the burnt umber. Don't want to use too much of the dark colour because we already got it sort of a black main wash on it, but we want to sort of bring in a bit of dark brown into it. Now, burnt umber, you could have used the burnt umber for your original wash, okay, for the black wash. If you didn't want to use black, you wanted to go for, say, a more muddy look, could go for, say, the burnt umber, which is a nice dark brown. Okay, there's a couple of dots of that, and finally we go for a couple of dots of white. Couple of dots of white. Okay. Now, that's our dots done. Okay. And now we go for the blending. Oh, sorry, I'm after knocking the camera screen there. Right, so we're going to get back with our white spirit. I find it dead handy to say dispense some into the cap. Okay, we put that to the side, and we get out a nice flat brush, ideal for this. Okay, nice flat brush. Right, so dip it into the into your white spirit. Try and get into where it's more visible. Right, dip it into the white spirit on our tissue. Remove a lot of it, not all, and then move across the model like that, downward streaks. When you get to the other side, rub off our brush, another bit of clean white spirit, clean off our brush. Like I said, we want it damp or moist, but not quite wet. Okay, and the same thing again. And it's literally a case of continuing that along. What you're going for is when you literally just at the point where you can no longer see your colours on it, okay, that you think you've actually removed them all, then stop. Okay, then stop. Just leave that then for a few minutes. Okay, and what you will notice is, see, as it dries, you're just getting little discolouring effects along the vehicle itself. Right? Now I know it doesn't look much, and you say to yourself, why did I go to all that bother just for such a little, slightest little effect? that's what it's all about. It's all about subtle effects. Now, when we go on then for our last effect, where, well, we've got two more effects to do. One of them I will show you now, and one we'll leave until the very end, where we're just basically giving it a dot filter, sort of a pin wash, okay, where we go over all our little nuts, bolts, crevices, bumpy things, divots, you name it, anything that can go across that can create a highlight around it to make it stand out. That's what the pin wash will do. Alright, but we're going now for a little bit of rust streaking. So you pick out your colour that you're going to use for your rust streaking. I find this burnt sienna is a great colour for rust streaks. Okay. Now, as you can see, remember what we did with our when we did our scratches and our deep scratches and things like that. We did a couple of big those ones along the top. Okay, so we go over little areas where it would get rusted. Right, a little there, a little bit there, a little bit there. Right, we'll also go for a bit, say, here, on a couple of the nuts and bolts, and around some brackets. Okay. Okay. Like that. Then we're back to our white spirit. Now you can use you don't have to use such a flat brush for this one, right? You want it a little bit wetter than when we were blending in the last time, but still not soaking, shall we say, right? And go on to that and just drag it down. Keep our brush moist, but not quite wet. Right? All those little areas where we did the bits. And don't worry, like here now, where you got a mad streak. Right, that one there. We're going to clean all that up. Always remember, with streaking, that sounds like pervert advice. With the rust streaking, we want it to be subtle. Again, we want it to be subtle, not as blatant as what it looks here. So what does that mean? We got to remove a lot of it. Okay, so we get our flat brush again, but this time instead of using it on the flat, we're using it on the point, on the side, right? Excuse me. And you're basically playing around with it until you get to it that you're happy with it. Okay. What is it like? Rust. When it rains, especially if the rust is kind of gone dry and crispy. When it rains and rains heavily, and the rain streaks down, it will cause that dry, crispy rust to get washed down along the side of the vehicle. And when it dries in, it will cause streaks. Like I said, go back to looking at farm machinery, old farm machinery, not your brand new tractor. Okay, but look at the older stuff. And look at if you're not out the country, go along building sites and look at something that's going to be in situ for a long time and left out in the rain. So you got old generators. You ever see those old generators? Okay, so you've seen all your chipping and things like that. These things happen by just being used. So when a bit of paint is chipped away, what's going to be left? Or rust when it rains and then dries. Okay, and there's our streaks and rust streaks. Okay, and each one kind of looks that little bit different. You've got one over here, see it? Still nice and quite reddish, and as it goes down along it just kind of blends away. We've got all our different streaking, so when it rains, in other words mud and shite basically is going to get streaked down along the vehicle. Okay. Now when that whole thing is dry, you'll find, oh, that needs just a little bit more refinement. Okay, so it's literally down to just playing with it, getting it to a stage where you're happy with it. Okay, you might say to yourself, that's a bit much. You kind of clean it off in areas or whatever, blend it in a bit more in other areas, and it's all down to that. It's all down to just playing around with it. And you know, you might need to even go back and add another little bit here and there. Okay, I want a bit more of an effect coming down from this pistol port thingy jiggy here, see? Just a little bit more of an effect. And the great thing is the fact that you're working with oil paints and you're working on a gloss base, that you can play with that. When I say play with it, as in, you can change the, if it's too much you can remove a lot of it. If it's not enough you can add more, even 24 hours afterwards. Okay, so as you can see there, we're ending up with reasonably, quite a nice effect, like considering that's what we started off with. Right, nice and plain. I'm after bringing it over now to look like that. And like I said, remember, it's all layers. Continuing on with our layers. Now, remember I said about you can work on it a little bit later. Last night, when I was finishing off, say, the rest of the vehicle and things like that, when I was doing the wheels, I added a little bit here to the top of that, and I wanted it to kind of stain it. Right? Now that doesn't look natural, it doesn't look right in any way, shape or form. Right? And as you can see, it is dry. So, again, moisten your brush. It will react with the oil paints. Same here on the thing. I can remove another little bit because it's just a little bit too much in certain areas. Again, like I said, purposely done, just to show you that it can be removed even 24 hours after doing it. Okay. So, give that a go. Give that a try. Try your bit of rust streaking on it now. And as you can see, even as it's drying out now, it's starting to look even better again. And as leave it dry for half an hour, and look at yourself and say, oh, no, I'm not happy with that. And it's quite easy just to remove it all and start all over again, and keep going then until you're happy with it. Nothing really more I can say. That's just it. You just have to kind of play with it, and you can remove as much or add as much as you want. It's up to you, and it's, you play around with it until you're happy with the effect. But always remember, leave it dry before you make your, if you remember, like when we did it first, it didn't look all that. It looked as if I'd removed most of the streaking, but after now, once you leave it dry, you can see there where the different colours have kind of all blended in. They've kind of interacted with what was already there, right? And we end up with a reasonably nice effect. Like I said, we're going for a pretty heavy weathered vehicle that's been sort of left out in the thing. It mightn't even be, say, a during the war vehicle. It might be something, say, that you're doing one of these things that was left, you know, old battlefields that returned to a year or 2 years after the war. If you go out onto the Golan Heights, up until sort of 10 years afterwards, some of the Syrian vehicles were just sort of left there. Some of the Syrian tanks that the Israelis blew up basically in battle were just left there to rust away. And you know, that's what they'll kind of look like after a couple of months. It's as simple as that, literally. And you know, people might say that's over-weathered or whatever, but you make it the way you want to. Who says it has to be perfect? Who says it has to look 100%? Yes, it has to look natural. Yes, it has to look realistic. But who's to say what extent the weathering went to? Who's to say how damaged up a vehicle gets? Everything looks different. Everything, you know, everything is relevant to conditions around it. And like I said, I'm showing you as, say, the full-on method. And you can cut it back then to what suits you. But by seeing the full-on method, you can say to them, yeah, I like what he's doing there, but I wouldn't go as heavy. Then you're learning something. Do you know what I mean? And I'm happy that I've sort of passed something on. And don't be afraid to give it a go, give it a try. Because like I said, if you turn out and you make a total hames of that, simple. Put a bit of white spirit on the brush, wet the whole lot, and give it a wipe down with a bit of clean tissue, and you've cleaned off everything that you've just done. And you can start again or decide not to go at all. So that's a little bit of my explanation on dot filtering. You can get more refined videos then on it, and you know, getting nice neat effects and things like that. But that's just the basic introduction to it. And it's all down to sort of playing with it. Like I keep saying, it's the more you mess around with weathering, you find your own little way of doing things. Okay, so join me for the next video where we'll be doing a little bit of finishing it off. We'll be giving it a dot filtering, or not dot filtering, but a pin wash. And when the whole thing is finished, then we'll be giving it a dull coat, and that will seal everything in. Then it'll stop. It'll cover all our oil paints and things like that, so we won't be able to play with them anymore. But like I said, the final dull coat, that's the finished coat. And then we'll stick it on an old diorama base that I have there lying around. I'm sure I'm going to find one somewhere, and we'll stick on our figures and we'll see what the whole thing looks like. Okay, so join me then. Don't forget, stay tuned to the channel, and the easiest way to do that is to subscribe and to hit the bell. And by hitting the bell, you'll be notified as soon as I upload another video. So I'm going to leave this one as is. I'm going to carry on and, you know, finish off the whole vehicle. And when we come back again tomorrow evening, we'll have another look at it before we go. Carry on with the next step, and you'll see the effects of overall how it's blended in, how well it looks, or how bad it looks after the streaking. Nice bit of streaking effects. We like a bit of streaking. Okay, lads, I'll catch you soon. Don't forget to stay tuned to the channel, like I said, and most important, go out and buy yourself a kit. Build it, enjoy it, paint it and weather it, and don't be afraid to give it a go, because by giving it a go, that's how you learn little new techniques and things. And by playing around with stuff like that, it'll improve your own models rather than sort of giving them that factory fresh paint job every time. Okay, so see you soon, take care, and just be nice to one another. Costs nothing, just be nice. See you soon, take care.